Hey guys, so now that all the bullshit's out of the way and I can get down to the huge to-do list that I have to do, the first item on that list was to write a post for A Good Pagan Wife. Unfortunately, I just don't have the energy to type right now, so I'm going to make a video. It'll just be a lot easier. And it's still in a rebloggable format for you. Unfortunately, this just means you won't be able to copy and paste it, but if you feel like putting forth the effort into transcribing it, feel free. Anyways, she asked me the other day, I don't remember if it was last night or the night before, if I have any resources on cursing in kitchen magic and whether or not I had ever done it using kitchen magic. And my answer to the first part is no, unfortunately I don't have any resources on it. I've never come across it in anything, really. I mean, there are a couple spells that I've found that are for banishment involving kitchencraft, but there's no, that I've found, resources for cursing specifically in any format for kitchen magic. That being said, I have still done it, and it's just like any other curse, I think, except obviously you're doing it with food or, you know, an item that would fall under the category of kitchen witch. We're going to do food for this video because that was what she specifically asked about, was baking and cooking. But this can't apply to anything like soap making or candle making that would fall under the category of kitchen magic or cottage magic. And it's basically just like any other method of cursing, except you generally want to use safe products. You obviously don't want to use anything toxic. You obviously don't want to use anything that's not consumable, because obviously if you're doing food, you want them to be able to eat it. And as a matter of fact, there is a pop culture reference to this in some format. Season 1 of an American Horror Story did involve a scene where the lady next door baked a cupcake with laxatives in it, in an effort to poison or severely injure or sicken the daughter because she didn't like their relationship with her dead son. And if you haven't seen American Horror Story, I do highly suggest you watch it. But anyways, that's a tangent. So there is pop culture references to this having been done. And I wouldn't personally suggest laxatives, but that is actually a really common one, and that could be used as a curse, but that's a little bit too much for me. I prefer to actually use ingredients that they can ingest that would be safe for congestion, that wouldn't necessarily make them sick, but would definitely help the curse out. But it is personal preference if you choose to do so. Common sense tip is not to eat the food. This comes from the fact that if, you know, when you cook food and you're imbuing it with magical energies, if you consume with the intent that if they eat it, it activates the curse or the spell or whatever you're imbuing it with, then common sense says that if you taste it while you're making it and you're imbuing it with this energy, that it's going to give you some sort of backlash. Like, you will suffer some sort of the consequence of the spell that you're putting it into. And if that's a curse, that's probably a bad thing. So I would advise against trying to taste or eat the food while you're preparing it. Other than that, I prefer to use spicy foods. Spicy dishes like curries or Mexican or Spanish foods that generally are spicy. I believe Thai can sometimes be spicy. And then there's a bunch of American dishes that are spicy or from different cultures. You know, it's whatever you want to cook. I cook a lot of curries, a lot of spicy curries, so usually when I do this, I do curry, but it's basically whatever you want to cook if you want to make it spicy. And the reason why I like spicy foods is because black pepper and cayenne pepper and stuff like that are commonly used in curses, banishments, bindings, and stuff like that, and they are very potent in small quantities. So it just seems to me to be one of the better options, but you can do this with cakes or breads. And it's like anything else, essentially, any form of kitchen magic or any type of spell work. You get all your ingredients, or you find a recipe that you want to use, you get all your ingredients, and then you mix it up, and it's the entire preparation process, at least for me, is imbued with the energy that you want it to work. And then usually I add little stipulations like only activated when eating, or when ate or consumed, only activated, if they do something else. Sometimes I'll put time limits on it if I just want them to suffer a little bit or have the effects for a little bit, not even in cursing, just like in anything. Or I'll put different weird little stipulations in there. But while you're doing the mixing and the baking process, you imbue it with the magical energy that you want to, and then you bake it and you give it to them. That's really about how it works. And you can use any spell. Like, I don't use any specific curses. I just do visualization and maybe like throw some anger in there and shit, depending on what they did and what I want them to suffer. But you can use standard curses. Like, I know there's a curse running around with lime, so you could use that. Obviously with ingestible materials. You could use the black pepper, cayenne pepper, or any form of pepper, really. You can use spicy foods. So you could even use sweet foods if you want something to be, like, if it goes along the lines of blessings or curses. So you could use sweet foods or anything, really. You can pretty much use anything. You can use any spell. You can do curses that curse them to see the truth about themselves, or you could use curses or spells that make people see the truth, or you can use curses that make people ill. You could use spells that make them lose property, like reverse financial spells. You can do a lot of different things with it. And like I said, it's just like any other type of spell or any other type of magic. It's whatever you want to do. That's just different ways of doing it. And it just comes down to essentially experimenting, though that's a little difficult to do because that's a lot of food to bake and a lot of different people to curse. But I would just treat it like any old other kitchen spell. I mean, if you do kitchen magic regularly, specifically like, food-oriented kitchen magic, don't do anything different. Really, I mean, that's all it is. Don't do anything different. Just, the only things that would be different would be the ingredients that you put in it, the type of dish, and the energy that you imbue it with, or the spell that you use for it. So I would say just, if you work with kitchen magic when baking or cooking, if you would like to do curses with it, don't do anything different than you would usually do. It doesn't really require anything special other than the safety precaution that you probably shouldn't eat or test the food while you're doing it because of obvious reasons already stated. But other than that, I hope this helps.